And you know what? I don't think I could top the intro that I gave you the last time. Matter of fact, we still talking about your accomplishments. That we continuation from.
I'd be surprised if you could top that last one.
I can't top that last one, but man,
run it back. If you don't stop it, run it back.
You remember what you said the last time?
No. Okay, it was hey. But listen, man, we're gonna do a real quick synopsis of I'm gonna try to put it together. But this brother here, man, first of all, this is my co-host, man, for the Detroit Choice Awards, and it's a pleasure, man, to be invited in the same room as this guy, man. He's a motivational speaker. He was a victory over cancer, man, stage 4 cancer. You got doctor, his pastor, man. He spoke with everybody. He's been on every platform. He was just on 910 yesterday.
Yeah.
Man,
wow.
yeah. Man, just to hear this young man speak, man, it motivates your soul, man. So, if you want to see the introduction that I gave him, I'm gonna post that interview because man, it was well deserving, and it was short because this guy has so many accolades, man, to his resume, to his name, to everything, man. So once again, and he's here today, and he's on his 14th book.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Man, 14th book, yeah. Man. He's an author. Man, just so much, man. This is welcome back to the dinner table as a co-host this time, man. This is my guy, my co-host, man. This is somebody that you really want to pay attention to because he'll be your mentor. You know, man. This is Dr. Eddie Connor Jr. Welcome back to the dinner table.
Yes.
Man, it's an honor. It's an honor.
Man.
Thank you for coming.
To be a co-host with the host.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? The host with the most.
I was just about to say, well, y'all can host with the most because y'all will be hosting Detroit Choice Awards.
Yeah,
in September.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm sitting with two of the Detroit finest.
That's right. That's right, man.
Hey,
and
appreciate it.
It's you see what we do, man. This is my friend, my business partner, my sister, everything, man. We see I'm talking about. See what I'm talking about. We go at it, but at the end of the day, man, it's all love, man.
That's right.
And it's a pleasure to be here with you, She.
Oh, it is a pleasure to be with you, Q. I love
Man,
you.
I love you too. Nah, you about to make me put my windshield wipers on. Man, so we're gonna get right into it, man. He has a new book out, and it's called Mask of Masculinity. That is a title, and it's I don't know if I can say broad title because you could put so much into it. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna just get right into the title and where it come from, because I mean it's like, man, you could put out a book like you just had a book yesterday. That's a talent and that's experience, and that is really big, man. You know what I mean? For this to be your 14th book.
Wow.
So to our audience, man, explain the definition or one of the definitions of Mask of Masculinity.
Oh, for sure. Glad to be back, of course, with my sister from another mister. The producer just got his out, put his album out.
That's right.
Yeah. Boog. And of course, my brother from another mother, you live up to your last name. You stay sharp, brother.
I try to, man.
So,
I look at your book because you be sharp, man. I mean, look at you now, man. Come on.
Yeah, man. So, this is a book that I've been working on for the last few years, and to really write this book, I knew I had to go to a deeper level of vulnerability, and recognize even that I had to heal from the emotional incarceration, the psychological pain, the intergenerational trauma, of some things that have been in my life. Of course, growing up without a father and battling stage 4 cancer, and thank God beating it.
Yes.
Dealing with pride and ego and machismo and all that, and as boys becoming men, and we've been told all our life, don't cry, be a man, don't be a punk. Right. Crying is for girls. And as a result, we bottle up all of our emotions and our pain, and when it is time to be in relationships, much less marriage, we don't even know how to communicate.
Right.
Yes.
Because we've been so maladapted to trying to have this hard exterior of, this is what masculinity and manhood is all about, when really is antithetical, because real masculinity is about vulnerability. It's about reclaiming your identity, and it's really about maturity. And that's what I wanted to write about: how men can reclaim their identity, lead in love with vulnerability, And to take off that mask, the money becomes the mask. You know, the foreign car becomes the mask. All of the pseudo identity becomes a mask. And when you take that mask off, you see it's really a hurt boy behind it.
Yes.
You know, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's fear.
Yes.
And trying to find freedom from all of that is really a healing place where I wrote about, and I knew if I could find freedom, I could free my brothers too.
Wow.
And you know, I do see that in a lot of men. Men, they do put on, people put on a mask.
Yeah.
But a man, they don't want to be vulnerable. And then women, to me, we can really attack a man's ego and break him down and say things that hurt a man. And how do you overcome those as a man? And you know, like, you're not going to disrespect me, or you're not going to make me feel less than a man.
Yeah, right. Yes, it's all of that. And, you know, even bringing our sisters into the book. You know, I wanted to write about how really our sisters could create a safe space and place for our men to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And how to understand a man's mind.
Yeah.
You know, because
I don't understand a man's mind.
Most
It's
women
complicated.
right, because you know, it's not always a man saying it to a boy, stand up, be a man. Sometimes it's a woman saying it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a mama saying it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so hearing all of those stereotypical views and all of that, you know, we just have to heal, because if we don't heal, we're gonna bleed on people who didn't cut us.
Oh, and that is so true.
You know, it's a variation, it's my opinion, of things that can put a man into that type of ego thing. For instance, you know, growing up back in the day when you had your father that was stern, you know, and you was kind of scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that may have created some type of fear. And then if you didn't have a father, then you raised, you know, by your mom or by your grandma and stuff like that, man. So it's like, and then not on top of that, just growing up as a man, you got to deal with all these things out here, man. When you go out here, you got to put on this face. You got to put on this mean face, because there's so many bad people out here. And so through the course of your day, it's like, man, or coming up through life, you might have those issues. So you kind of build this shell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just put a post up the other day. It was like, man, sometimes you have to let it out. You know, and when you let it out, meaning a cleansing, meaning crime, man, it's not, you know, you can do it in your own space, but, you know, that's one thing, like you just said, we're taught that you do not cry.
Yeah,
Suck it up,
right.
Buttercup.
Right.
Come on. You know, that sounds like something you might say.
It's something I will say. Suck it up, Buttercup.
But no, seriously, it's like we're taught to have this, because we have to protect.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And like you said, it's a lot of depression, it's a lot of hurt, and you said a hurt boy, you know, coming up, and then you really put Band-Aids on all that. You know what I mean? So, man, it's how do you channel that, though? And then how do you express that without looking soft? Because that's the whole thing. I don't want to look like no punk. So I'm and to my woman, to my family, I don't want
Right.
You know, but when it all come crashing down, that's really, really bad.
Yeah, it's really
You know?
bad.
So how do you channel that and express it?
Yeah. You know, statistics say 68% of children are born without their fathers, especially within our communities. Then you got 85% of people who are incarcerated, brothers who are incarcerated, who never knew their father. Then 80% of the suicides are committed by men. So we've been battling and suffering in silence for so long. And I think one of those ways to channel our pain, because as men, we don't even want to get help. Right. We don't want help getting directions. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Much less direction in life. But I've grown to realize that, you know, men need mentors. You can't even spell mentor without men. You can't spell mental health. Can't spell mental health without men heal.
Right.
And being able to create a safe space and place, even getting a bond of brotherhood, a band of brotherhood who gonna talk about more than just money, sports, and women, but be able to say, hey, bro, yo, let me just check up on you. How things going? For real.
Yeah.
You know, beyond, yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm good. This, that, and the other. And then even seeking sometimes counseling and therapy. I remember last time I was on the show.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you talked about that so profoundly.
Oh, man.
And understanding that counseling and therapy is not taboo. It's for me and you. You know what I'm saying? We become a better man. We become a better protector, provider, priest of our home when we actually deal with the issues versus avoiding them.
Yeah.
No. What do you say to a man who has no idea how to even get to that place? Their surroundings, they like, you know, I'm from the hood. We don't do that. They don't have that to even know how to even connect with somebody to mentor to them or to talk to them about their issues? Where do they begin? Where do they start?
For me, it was just really taking a pen and paper and actually just writing down how I feel. You know, sometimes that turns into poetry. Sometimes that turns into a short story. Sometimes that turns into a letter to yourself,
Yes.
to the younger version of you. Sometimes it's a letter to a father who might have been absent. And as you're writing, you're healing. As you're writing, you're forgiving. You know, you're actually dealing with those issues of things that, man, I didn't even realize I was holding on to that. And really it was holding on to me.
Yeah.
Man.
You know, getting real with yourself. And sometimes you got to go internal first, because us as men, you know, we so focused on, you know, we don't verbalize, we internalize. Women, they got issues. Yo, we getting on the phone, they going and they going to connect with another sister. Us as brothers, we withdraw. And a lot of times we can withdraw to where we get so locked in that we don't know how to come out.
Yes, I witnessed that with men.
Yeah. And so, you know, T.D. Jakes talks about us as men, we have to embrace our emotions. Yeah. And sometimes it is the writing. Sometimes it's getting on the phone to a trusted OG.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or somebody who you can really confide in. And really find that breakthrough moment. Say, hey, I'm dealing with this. I just need a little assistance.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We go through so much as kids and stuff like that. We were taught, we were born in the don't say nothing era.
Right.
You have a lot of women coming up that has been molested. You have a lot of men that have been molested and keep it in and develop that trait on how to hold stuff in. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that goes on. You know, even as kids now, you know, they go through these games, and it's things that's teaching them from these horrific games that they play. You know, and they take that. And you know what? I have a friend of mine that has a daughter that's in therapy, and she's 10 years old. You know, because and she's saying that it's helping her out. I have a family member that has a son in therapy from the things that happen within the household. You know, and they're saying that they can see progress. You know, because they can see anger that was building up.
Wow.
You know, and we practice that as kids. You know, and we take it on to it. So therapy is good, man. Therapy used to be this boogie person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, you were a shrink, you're crazy, you know. But I think it's very vital that, we as a people, man, need to talk to someone that don't judge. You know, and you could be comfortable in talking to that person, because that's an outlet and you need it. But everything starts with God.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that's what you speak on too.
Yep.
You know,
without a doubt. Yeah, that spiritual connection.
Yeah.
That's needed and necessary. Hey, without God, I wouldn't even be able to be here. That was the place. When my earthly father being absent in my life, I had to connect with my heavenly Father and understand that my heavenly Father ain't like my earthly father.
Right.
Yeah.
He's even better. You know what I'm saying? And so that spiritual connection that gives us as men the foundation.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have a foundation as men with principles, standards that we're gonna live by, that we're not gonna betray. Our life is like a ship tossed to and fro, with no sail, doesn't know which way to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think something you said, and I've done that when I was in college. My English teacher had us write in our journal every day, and at first I'm like, this is crazy, but I went back, some things I wrote down and some things I'd accomplished that I wanted to get done, and I'm like, man, I did that. Or, hey, I'm not even talking about that no more. I moved on from that. So I think it's very good to have a journal and write down things. Yeah. Even if you write down a paragraph, just something, and you can always go back to it and see the growth or see if I need to grow in that area. I think God always put, until you get the lesson of something, you repeat it. So I think that, you put things down, you're like, okay, well, I need to work on that. I still haven't done that. So I think writing things down, I keep journals everywhere. Yeah. And I write in them all the time. Yeah.
That's important because it could turn into 14 books.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Best-selling books, it can turn into that. So that's like, you write things down, man.
No, you're right about that, true. And I put a little journal piece and portion in the back of the book.
Did you?
For our brothers to really do an inventory, to ask certain questions about themselves, see where they are in life, but also to provide a place for them to actually write down and express themselves, because we usually just bottle it up and just go through life, hard, mean mugging.
And attack, like you know, most men, it feel like you're attacking them. Well, I've witnessed it feel like it's an attack when you say something. And honestly, I be trying to help. Sometimes my delivery is straightforward, but I'm like, you know, I see this. I say, and some men are on the defensive of every little thing you say, and they, you know, it's I just don't and I don't understand it, and I'm not a man, so it's hard for me to, you know, digest like, okay, what is the problem here? Where's the disconnect? I'm trying to tell you something to help you, but then I have to realize where they come from, their background. One person I know, they don't have a mother or father, haven't had them since they were a child. So I try to keep those things, you know, in the back of my head. But sometimes when you know, you're trying to get somebody, like with a kid, you're trying to get your kid to see something, and they're not just seeing it, but you see it. Like there's a train right there, and you see this, you know, your kid about to go the wrong route. But some men just, I don't know, and I see that a lot. Family, I see that friends, Q, you know, just won't listen and won't take things in.
Yeah.
But,
So that means you don't have road rage, you got walk rage then, huh?
walk rage?
Walk rage. Hilarious.
And then if you don't mind me saying, we were both at the tech going through something, and I remember, and I look at your growth because you was really going through, and I sometimes was like kind of harsh, but I wasn't being harsh to down you. I was trying to get you out of that place, but it had to take its time, and it had to be a process. And once you seen it, the growth, like it was like night and day from where you could, you know, what you were going through to where you are now. So yes.
One of the things was therapy. Yeah, and like we were here before, we expressed that, man. I'm going through it right now. You know what I'm saying? Continue, because sometimes you have that, you relapse, man, and you have that fallback. And I'm like, let me go and get it again because I need that help. You know what I mean? But you got Mask of Masculinity, man. This is my guy, Dr. Eddie Connor Jr., man. This is his latest book. I encourage you guys to get this book, man. It'll help you out, women too, because like he just expressed, some women don't know how to be that man's comfort. You know, be that, you know, you come in and in each other's comfort. You know what I'm saying? But when we come in, you know, we want to come in. Our house is supposed to be our sanctuary. It's supposed to be our house of peace. You know, we don't want to come in and then we fighting the battles out here in the world and come in and we hearing all this. No, be that man's comfort. You know, because you can get more out of a conversation when you're talking to each other.
Yeah, instead of at each other.
And talking at a time where, okay, I see I can have a conversation because now we brought down here. You know, because I get amped up real quick.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So talk to me when I'm down here. Now we can have a conversation. But that's a very, very, very important piece that you had about the women. You know, make sure they be the man's comfort. Yeah. You know, because we need that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I appreciate my wife.
Yeah. Man.
Like it's super important.
Yeah.
Who wants to be with somebody that's gonna be nagging and fussing all the time?
Yeah. Man.
Got a wife, not a knife.
And I
a wife, not a knife.
You know what I'm saying? I do realize that some women don't know how to communicate a different way because they come up.
Yeah.
They might come up in a certain, you know what I'm saying, environment. So they feel like because this is how I communicated here at home with mama, aunties, grandmas, or whatever, they feel like this is the way and like it's okay because my grandfather, my uncles, like all of them. I be hearing some of my aunties sometimes, and I be like, but they be ignoring it. And I'm like, how do y'all do that?
See, that's
be like, yo, I can't turn that off. I'm going to be like, can you be quiet?
And a lot of women
for a second. Or how about when you ask me a question, how about you pause so I can actually answer? You be asking like 8 questions in a row, like, and want to answer for all 8 then.
Right now.
Listen. Don't listen to respond.
But a lot of people listen to respond.
A lot of people
especially
listen to respond.
Men, because it's like y'all gotta say it, and especially men. You really do. And women just keep talking. We don't even give you, and I agree, we don't even give you a minute to talk because we got to get it all in. I say what I said, and blah, blah, blah. And you did this, and you did, and you don't even get a chance to process it. And then, of course, you there because I done took your energy there, and we just here, and nothing's getting resolved. I said women.
Okay.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, women generally use more words a day than a man does.
Yes, and we can eat y'all up with some words. Yeah. It's natural.
Charlie Brown's teacher. That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
And then a man is more physical. Not to say that a man will hit one, but y'all get frustrated so quickly because most men can't out-talk a woman. Cause we just quick with it. We like, and matter of fact, and blah blah blah, and then y'all just like, ah.
I'm gonna leave that alone.
I'd be like,
I tell you what.
I'd be like, I need a break.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, I break from what?
See, man. So, listen, I'm gonna give you a couple things that's in the book and that is directed towards men. One of the topics is how to establish a mental healthy well-being and walk in greater self-confidence.
Yeah.
You know, and to have confidence, man, is to have to be, you know, well within yourself, and you can actually, because when you're in a household with your family, it's about being able to lead. You know, being able to lead right. And I know sometimes y'all tell, you know, that she need to obey and submit. You know what I'm saying? See, I already know her skin just hurts. You know what I mean? But seriously, but you really, if you lead right, you know, and that comes with self-confidence.
Yeah.
And that's good that you spoke on that, man. How important is that, you know, with one in itself?
Yeah, I think a man has to have a vision. He has to know, have direction. He's got to know who he is. You know, if you don't know who you are, people will tell you what you're not. As a result, you'll believe it. You'll buy into that philosophy. That'll be passed on from generation to generation. You will be void of your purpose. You won't even walk in it.
Ooh.
And so, you know, a man who has vision, direction, clear indication of where he wants to go in life, you know, I think that all connects to his relationships, to who he is as an individual. You know, when he steps into the room, the atmosphere changes.
Yes.
You know, when he speaks, there's power.
Yeah.
You know, not to dominate anybody else, but really to dominate his space, his place, and his purpose. And so I even define man as mature, assertive nurturer. You know, mature, that is all about, there's no respectability without responsibility.
Yeah.
Us as men maturing, you know, you even think, when I was a child, I spake as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things.
Yes.
Things don't just leave by osmosis, just by the click of a button or the snap of a finger, or just because you're grown now.
Right.
You know, we got to actively put it away.
Yes.
You know, we all got that childishness
Yes.
on the inside of us, and being able to get rid of it. Then also assertive. You know, being passive is too extreme. Being aggressive is too extreme. You got to have a backbone as a man. What are you not willing to bend on? You know, what are you willing to actually lead and succeed and empower other people to move their life to the next level? How are you willing to be an example? And then nurturer. Generally, we always predicate nurturing the women.
Yeah.
You know, we attach and associate that with women, but us as men, nurturing is about care. It's about knowing the time to be tender. Then is knowing the time to be tough.
Yeah.
You know, knowing the time to move in a place of discipline and in correction. And then also, you don't handle bricks like you handle a baby.
No.
Right? You got to have some level of TLC there.
Right.
You know, and I think it's all a fine line. It's a balancing act, and that's through growth and that's maturity.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that, man. It's very important. You know, because like I said before, coming up as a kid, man. You know, you especially I see it more with women that have sons. They're tough on their sons as a little. I don't want to hear all that crying. You don't come on, you're gonna be a man. You're not gonna be no baby. But he's like 7 months. What you mean?
That's right.
She's supposed to be a baby. Yeah.
Right.
He's supposed to goo gaga. Shut up. I don't want to hear it, you know. So even from that, man, you know, so it's very important, man. So like I say, you know, find someone that you can trust, like you just said, that you can talk to, that you can open up to, whether it be, you know, family member, whether it be Dr. Eddie Connor Jr.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, when you speak, man, you command the room, you know, and you can just see and you can hear a pin drop.
Now, Dr. Connor, do you mentor or counsel men?
Yeah, I do. You know, I always, for years, was, you know, mentoring boys. But now, over the last few years, especially during the pandemic, I started mentoring a lot of young brothers and then even older men.
Okay.
And what the New York Times said, during the pandemic, the relationships that have been hit hardest the most were brothers to brothers, because all we did was we only connected when we went out to play sports, to watch the game. Some brothers go to the happy hour, the bar, whatever the case may be, and then when all that was shut down, we shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah, 'cause that was a getaway for you.
Yeah,
guys, too.
right. Right, that was
Yeah.
getaway.
If you couldn't handle something that was going on at home, you'd be like, let me go hook up with the fellas
And
at
then-
the bar, let me go here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that during
Couldn't
the
do that.
pandemic.
But during the pandemic, a lot of relationships and marriages went through because you were dealing with each other.
Yep. Divorce rate went up.
Yeah.
Right.
Got to the roof. It's over. I can't take it.
Just like that.
All that stuff that people was putting band-aids on and was sweeping under the rug, it came to the surface during the pandemic. You had to deal with stuff, and some people just did.
And you couldn't
they
go
just
nowhere.
couldn't.
You was at home.
Right.
Like you had to deal with it.
On top of the people that was frustrated about not being able to work or you know what I'm saying, or having to work more than you usually had to because you might have been one of those people that had the job they can consider like you had to work, but then they'd be overworking you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To overcompensate for other stuff that wasn't going on.
Yeah.
You got that, man. You got just life as what's going on with this gas prices, what's going on with you got food, you got all these necessities going up in prices, but the company's not paying more.
No.
You know what I mean? So when you making $30 an hour now, that's chopped in half. You know what I mean? Because all these prices, all these necessity things that you need are going up. So you stressed out from that, and even what we eat. You know what I mean? What you eat, what you put in your body, man, it either going to be bad for you or it's going to be good for you. You know, because you got all these things that's again steroids put into this fast food and all this good stuff. You eating fast, you blowing up, and then it mess with your mind. You know, and I noticed, even with these times and the jobs and money, you get more. And depending on even with working midnights, man, you can develop just a short attention span, more irritable, more, you know what I mean, and your responses are snappy. So it plays a part. The whole thing, as far as just living, plays a part to that stress and that mental.
Yeah. And a lot of people are stressed, and to me, I don't know. I always be looking at men. I look at all of y'all, not you, Dr. Connors, but these two for sure.
See what I'm talking about?
What?
And I brought you water.
What is going on, or how do you communicate with you guys? Because sometimes, especially Q, it'd be like, no offense, but it'd be like, I'm saying this and I'm saying that, and you like, no, but it's this and that, and I'm like, okay, just forget it. And it's like the communication with people, even on friendships, and especially with relationships, we just had that disconnect with communicating, and I really don't understand that with men. Men are so complex to me. I do not understand.
Man, that brings me to the next topic that's in this list that's in the book. No, seriously. I'm serious.
That's a great
it goes
segue.
on when you said
Right.
to the mask of masculinity. This is one of the topics that counteract what you're saying is develop your emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? So you have to develop emotion and how to control it. So how do you get into that and kind of take home on your emotions? Because sometimes emotions can be all over the place.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think we saw the height of that at the Will Smith, Chris Rock.
Yes.
We saw, and it was really brought into question about the whole aspect of emotional intelligence. And when we are triggered as men, a lot of times we just go 0 to 100 real quick.
Real quick.
We do something permanent in a temporary situation, and we have not really been reared and taught about, how do you handle anger? How do you handle stress? How do you handle rage? If somebody calls you out your name, how do you respond to that? And maybe the best response is no response.
No response.
Because you know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're not reared like that and even trained like that, you move into those maladaptive tendencies to where you always got a chip on your shoulder. You've got that rage, that's that pent-up aggression. Or you say, yo, I'm all good, and really you're not.
Yeah.
But it's like boiling spaghetti and you leaving the lid on the whole time. It's going to bubble out. It's going to spill over. It's going to explode. And, we're seeing so many of our brothers who are dealing with depression, who are dealing with anxiety, struggling with pornography, all these things. They go into the bottle, they go into the addiction, they put in the weed in rotation, all these things. And it's really a sedative for the pain.
And I say that.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. We're gonna get personal now, because speaking of that, but how do you personally handle, things coming at you, or somebody, they just want to take your head off, whether it's a female, somebody working with in business, like how do you deal with that?
I'll give you an example. I was coming out of cancer and I was in remission, as the doctors would say, total healing. It was probably about 2 years after. And I was in a convenience store. I was really inconvenienced by a guy who walked up to me. I recognized him. But he walked up to me and he didn't even say what up, though, didn't say hello, didn't say what's good, bro. He said, I thought you died.
Wow.
Wow.
Right. Now, I felt my fist clench up so fast, man. I felt this heat rush in my body that I'd never experienced before.
Wow.
I was going to have a Will Smith, Chris Rock moment. But I was going to be Will.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I was so enraged by that. And I could have had an assault charge. I was so angry. I was definitely going to hit that brother upside his head. Like, who are you to say that to me?
Yes.
You know, just totally just messed me up, man. And at that place right there, I felt myself. I released my fist. I had it clenched up, and I decided to say, I didn't even know what emotional intelligence was at that time.
Right.
But I exercised it. I cooled my head, and I said, "Bruh, as you can see, I ain't dead. I'm alive." And I walked off. You know, and there's been other episodes, nothing to that extreme, but I wasn't really taught how to deal with that.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I would get into fights when I was a kid and stuff like that, and after a while, I just got tired of being suspended. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got tired of getting whooped when I went home. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so kind of just naturally, I just faded into, let me not even react. But one thing I've learned over the years is when I'm dealing with anxiety, when I'm dealing with thoughts of depression, my outlet a lot of times is the gym.
Okay.
My outlet a lot of times is just writing. My outlet a lot of times is music. Sometimes I'm pouring myself into work. And you know, one of my things is it's better to be a workaholic than an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still learning self-care. You know what I mean? Being able to talk to somebody. I got some OGs who I get up on the call on the phone, this, that, and the other. And, you know, they're like, Eddie, how you doing? Eddie, how you really doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? And we able to do a self-check right there. So, you know, those are some ways that I'm able to handle it, you know, responsibly and proactively.
Man, listen, Mask of Masculinity, man. We're here with Dr. Eddie Connor Jr. Listen, if you want to call in and ask a couple questions or comments, call in 248-854-9850. And my brother here, man, would love to discuss some things and answer questions, comments. Now, another topic on Mask of Masculinity, man, is learn how to unlock your greatness. You know, and she and I speak on that so much, man, because she's very inspirational in moves that she's recently made, and I'm battling that now, trying to figure out how to walk away from the company aspect and be my own boss and entrepreneur. I have my company, but I want to be the fear of walking away and stepping out on faith. It haunts me. Yeah, you know. So I mean, that's just the lock on my greatness. So, you know, how do you learn how to unlock your greatness?
You know, I think, you know, a job is what you're paid for, but your calling and your purpose is what you're made for. Yeah. I had to discover that. You know, my trade is teaching on the high school level and then on the collegiate level, major in education, so on and so forth. But I knew there was more for me beyond just those four walls. I had to spend a lot of time being introspective, writing down what are my goals. They say only 5% of Americans write down their goals. Of the 5% that do, 95% of the time they end up completing it. A lot of times we're just so afraid to write down the big vision, you know, to dream big. If your dream is affordable, you're not dreaming big enough. You know, taking the limits off of your own mindset. And I think especially as men, we become, you know, our Achilles heel as men is complacency. You know, but when you're complacent, you get replaced. We get into this role and this place of being repetitive, doing the same old things, so on and so forth. And life becomes Groundhog Day every day. That's why you're seeing so many black women do something different. They going into business. They don't want life the same way.
No.
They willing to be a risk taker.
And you have to take a risk.
Yeah, and an entrepreneur is like someone who jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down without a parachute.
Wow.
And my goodness, that's how I felt, because I was like, I'm going to do it. And I just did it.
It's risk and reward, but there's no reward until you take the risk.
That's
like they say, no risk it, no biscuit. You know what I'm saying? And so I think one thing we got to challenge ourselves as men to, yes, this is my goal, but what's also my action plan? This is one thing I'm going to do every day. There's something, Robin Sharma has something called the 90-90-1 rule. The first 90 minutes of your day, focus on the one thing that's going to push you to the next level. The first 90 minutes of your day, for the matter of fact, for the next 90 days, focus on the first 90 minutes of your day, the one thing that's going to push you forward. If you want to be a writer, if you want to be a speaker, if you want to be a podcaster, what are you going to do every single day to push you closer to that dream and that goal of entrepreneurship? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm on that entrepreneurship. Is it you gonna sink or you gonna swim? You gonna float? You gonna go to the next level? You gonna stay on the shore?
Yeah.
The greatest place, the most dangerous place you can be in life is not when you're walking on water. It's when you're staying in the boat.
Yeah.
Gotta go out into the deep end. Yeah.
Wow.
Gotta take the risk.
You got to take the risk.
Yeah.
And, and you know, when I took the risk, I told you my first week. My first week was, the money was like triple what I made at work in 1 week, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I could have been doing this." But you have to do it when the time is right. And I got my ducks in a row because I knew, okay, I'm stepping away. But I always tell you, you know when it's time. You know when, because guess what? You'll do it. Yeah.
Man, listen, man. You got Mask of Masculinity, man. Make sure y'all get that book, man.
Can you hold the book in the camera?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, where can people get the book?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the revolution not only be televised, it'll be digitized. They can go to my website, dreddieacademy.com/men to get a signed copy. It went #1 on Amazon. It came out
congratulations.
just last week.
All right.
Yeah. And so it's on Amazon as a physical copy here, as you see, as well as an ebook and an audio book. Yeah.
Wow. And some of the proceeds will go to
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Proceeds go to my organization, Boys to Books, as well as Gifted for Greatness, two mentoring programs that I have that focus on literacy, leadership, life skills enrichment for Boys to Books. And then for the Gifted for Greatness, we focus on a RISE program, responsibility, identity, success, and education.
Man,
now this book, can women read this book as well?
Oh, facts. Okay. Absolutely. If you really want to get into a man's mind, you know what they say, this: the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. You know what I'm saying? If you learn
grab your neck.
Right, not to grab it, but to release it, to turn it the right way in your direction. I know. Right, I know you want to strangle them.
Right.
But if you read the book, you'll understand them.
Now, you know, that's a good one. I know you understand, but if you read the book, you will understand.
You understand why I got to release them. Yeah.
It's on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, for sure.
Hey, man, this is my brother here, man, Dr. Eddie Connor Jr., man. Look, man, I cannot wait until September 17th, Detroit Choice Awards. We gonna have a ball.
It's a Detroit holiday right there, brother.
Man, listen, man. And this guy right here, he can dress.
Oh, my God,
I'm actually, you know, kind of like,
what he gonna come with?
Yeah, listen, man. Man, I'm telling
no, man, I need to go shopping with you because you stay sharp, man. Just like the last name. I need to raid your closet.
I'm like, man, would you look at this guy right here, man? Damn, I'm like, I told him last time I had my stuff flown in from Tibet. I'm like, this man stay sharp, man. You know?
Now, how important is looking good to you? You know, because some people don't put the time into how they dress, how they look. You know, they just...
You must have read the book. I talk about that in the book. I give 12 steps for men to be able to maximize their manhood, and one is being able to dress for success. I think people treat you want to dress the way you want to be addressed.
That's
of course,
right.
You don't always have... dress the way you want to be addressed.
That's right.
You know, you don't always have to be G'd up from the feet up and be suited and booted all the time. But it's really your appearance. You know, one of the main things that women always look at on a man first is his shoes.
Always. That's the first thing. Yes,
Right,
I look at
right.
the shoes, then I work my way up. But I want to see what your shoes look like.
Exactly.
And they don't have to be Gucci, Versace. They don't have to be Ferragamo. If you look nice, you know, they need.
I mean, that's what's up, because I look down first too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you decide if you want.
You don't keep them feet up. Everything else, no.
Facts.
Oh, that's for y'all. Y'all look at the feet first of women. You said facts.
Well, I mean, if you know, it's open toe shoe season now. You know what I'm saying? It's sandal season now. So
you can tell a lot about a woman by the way she take care of her feet. If she don't, and it's the season where you supposed to have them out, I don't trust you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just
You know what I'm
really
saying?
about, us as men and y'all as sisters looking to see whether I want this brother to walk in my life or walk out
Yeah.
based on his shoes.
Yeah.
But I think it's just really about us as men, taking pride in our appearance.
And being well grown.
being
Like being
absolutely.
well
Just
grown.
ready to say that, man.
Yeah,
Yes, being
it's so
well-grown.
important to me.
Yeah, man. And because you know what, you feel good. I mean, you go get your massage, you go get your, and it's not get your nails done too. I mean, you know what I mean. I don't get my nails done. I don't do it all the time, but I've gotten my nails done.
Pedicures?
Pedicure. I don't let nobody mess with my feet. I don't care. But I'm just saying, you feel good when you come out. You feel good. And shout out to my family. I want to give them a plug real quick. They have Just for Him, HY. But it's Just for Him, and it's right on 5 Mile and Beach Daily. They just opened maybe about 4 months ago, and it's taken off. You go in there, you get groomed, you get your mani, your pedi, you get your manicure, your massage, and you sit there and you can watch sports, and you can just
Who is
release.
it catered to?
It's catered to men.
That's what I wanted you
Yeah,
to
just for him. Yep. I thought the name told everything.
Well, some people you can be doing it. A woman could be getting herself together just for him.
See, that's what we're talking about. How that goes a song where a woman's supposed to know and understand a man. That goes inside with your book. What did she just do?
No, it's called clarity.
Listen, look, hey, Dr. Connor, look at
There we go.
She just went off the deep end.
No, I'm just saying, elaborate on who it's for.
No, man. Oh my goodness, look, that's my girl. But yeah, but it feels good to look good, and you can walk in with confidence, and that plays a part in the success of a man.
Yeah.
It's like, because some people, man, have bigger personalities than others. You know what I mean? And you can carry your personality. When you come into the room, sometimes you can command the room, and then sometimes you see someone come in that's real, timid. You know what I mean? So to have self-confidence and know who you are, like you stated in your book, is very important.
Absolutely.
And to know when to wear stuff, because some men and women too don't know what to wear to a funeral, don't know what to wear to an interview, do not know what to wear to a wedding, and it's just like, wow,
man,
that bothers me.
My aunt, she's a manager at AutoZone, and she said she have people come in with actual slides on and house shoes to an interview. To an interview, and she said she's like, listen, see, I have to be. Come on, you can't come into an interview with house shoes on. Now stop it.
Do you teach men how to be, dress proper etiquette for an interview, how to speak for it? Because a lot of people don't know this stuff.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, the book is a teachable moment, but even when I'm mentoring, our young brothers as well, especially in my mentorship programs, how to tie a tie.
Yes.
How to shake somebody's hand and actually look at them in the eye. And have exude confidence. And I tell them, hey, if you can't really look at somebody in the eye, look at the bridge of their nose. You're not gonna look cross-eyed and this, that, and the other. But being able to exude confidence. How do you speak? What's your mannerisms?
Right.
Conveying all of those specific aspects and teaching what I wasn't necessarily taught.
Yeah.
Each one teach one and being able to reach one and empower, because we're gonna lose out on opportunities because we don't know.
Right.
That's right.
My people perish for lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. That is so true.
So I gotta get you. I gotta put you in a hot seat. You know what I'm saying? It's not really a hot seat. It's preference. Give me your top 5 motivational songs that you listen to that get you going. If you're on your way to speak, if you're on your way to the gym, if you're on your way, what is your top 5 in any order?
Oh, let me see.
Or is it your top 5 hip hop song? Whatever you want, however you want to put it. Give me your top 5. Give me Dr. Eddie Connor Jr.'s top 5 songs that get you there.
Whew. Let's represent 8 Mile, Eminem.
Okay.
Lose Yourself.
Lose Yourself.
Yeah, I can go with that one. That'll get me there. That'll get me hype.
Okay.
Let me say some Jay-Z.
Okay. Definitely.
You know what I mean? Some Jay-Z. It's so many songs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'll throw on some Kanye.
Okay.
Hey, I might throw on some Future.
See,
I'm gonna throw that on too. You know, if I'm in let's see, another hip hop artist, I might throw on some Jada Kiss. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Go throwback.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So I see. That's lyrics, man. That's lyrics.
That's lyrics.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if you guys listen to real quick. I know we got a couple minutes. They were talking about Drake's new album.
Yeah.
You know, some people like it, some people don't. You had
Yeah, I
Irv
didn't say
Gotti
him.
really talking about he lost hip hop with his album, but I think he
never was.
Exactly. He said I'm a singer. He said he's getting bodied by a singer. You know what I mean? But I like it that he takes the electronic, the techno, and it's a whole market for that.
Oh, for sure.
He's given us all these albums of, hip hop and some singing and this, that, and other, but he took a turn and say, hey, I'm going to do this and go this route. And that's probably going to be his biggest selling album because that community is huge.
Yeah, it's his 808s and Heartbreak.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's
absolutely.
and he's deviating with the dance music, and we see Beyonce's delving into that too.
Yeah.
You know, it was at one point I was listening to the album, and I said, I had to go back and say, is this still Drake playing?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You know, so hey, you know, it might grow on me or something like that. You know, I never thought he was hip hop. You know, he's all just rap and he's pop, really. He's
Pop, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so I get it. He's trying to break out into a different audience, and you would think, does he really need to break out into a different audience? He's the biggest rap selling artist in the last decade.
Since 2010.
Yeah.
Well, you know who has a great album?
Oh.
DJ Book. And
DJ Book.
Hey, yeah.
he had a release party last night, and unfortunately I missed it. I was working, but can you put on our page the link so people can get your CD?
There it is.
And it
I
got
can do
techno
that.
and he's singing. Listen, y'all, our engineer can really sing. So yes, I was taken aback when I listened to it, and I'm like, "Wow, is that you singing?" So yes, y'all want to check that out. Along is getting a book from Dr. Eddie Conner.
Yeah, you definitely got to get his book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you can do, you can read the book and you can vibe to book.
You can.
That's good.
Hey, that's what I do.
Man, we really appreciate you, man, coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Like I say, you've
thank
always
you.
welcome, man. Coles, we got to get our host for the Detroit Choice Awards on the show. So you got to be here.
Oh,
again.
for sure.
You know, and can you tell
say
the audience
less.
one more time where they can get your book and purchase your book, man? This is Mask of Masculinity, Dr. Eddie Conner Jr.'s, man, and then give them how they can get in touch with you, your platforms.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I appreciate y'all. Feel like home every single time I come, for real. Really appreciate the love as you show. And listen, the book is available. Like I said, the revolution not only be televised, it'll be digitized. They can go to my website, DrEddieAcademy.com/men, and even join my academy. We'll be focused on faith, identity, relationships, speaker training, so much more. And then, of course, the book, The Mask of Masculinity, is available on Amazon, Audible, iTunes, ebook, audiobook, hard copy. Go get it. You won't be disappointed.
You know, and I just want to say this about you. You're very humble, and you have a great aura about yourself. You know, somebody with your resume, you know, they would have been, you know, and you're not like that. So I appreciate you being the person that you are.
Oh,
It's authentic.
Yes,
It's not
it's authentic.
fake.
It's not.
It's
You're real
not
genuine.
Fake. If you talk to Eddie, you will know.
Yes.
I promise.
There it is.
And I appreciate it. I like to see people
Yeah.
like that because somebody, you know, they have the big head when they hear and they've been there and I done came to this person. Here you are at that podcast in Detroit or in Southfield.
Yeah.
Listen, no matter how high I get, I always be looking up to you.
I like that. I'm going to have to use that.
Simple as that. I'll always come on as long as y'all have me.
That was so authentic.
Right.
Man, and listen, this young man is doing this, and I'm trying to put you on the spot, at the age of under 40?
Yeah.
Under 40. I almost said under 30, because, man, that's how you... 30, man.
I wish.
So
I was gonna
many
say, you under 30?
accomplishments. No. So many accomplishments, man. So many accomplishments. This guy here, man, is a blessing to our community, to us as a people, to our show, everything, man, because he is an inspirational person, man. I mean, a mentor, pastor. He's victory over stage 4 cancer. So many accolades to this young man, man. It's a pleasure to have you here,
and
man.
thank you.
Seriously, man.
Seriously,
Absolutely,
appreciate y'all,
man.
for real.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And this is the dinner table. What you got for me? You
I'm out.
you hear that? I got that rhyme.
What you
got? You hear that? She, what you got for me?
Well, we gotta go, and we gotta go. I'm gonna leave the floor. Y'all do what y'all do.
Oh, she, who you be?
That's how we doing it?
Hey, you know, it just comes out the top of the head for me.
Look at, oh,
Just kidding. I'm just joking.
she got bars, man.
Man, this is the dinner table, man. Thank you again for tuning in one more week. We'll see you next Thursday.
Yes.
It's going down. Once again, this is Friday Eve, and this is the dinner table with She, Q, Boog, my guy, Dr. Eddie Conner Jr. Make sure y'all go get the book, Mask of
Yes.
Masculinity, on all the platforms, and we wrapping up.
And we out.
We out.
Yeah, yeah.